You've got a lot of people that don't reside. They don't always know exactly where they're going. They're kind of driving like this, looking for directions. Hi, I'm Renee Velasquez, and if this is your first time to this channel and you want to learn about everything there is to know about living in Cleveland, Ohio, be sure to tap that like button, hit the subscribe, and click that little bell so that you're notified every time we release a new video. In this video, we're going to talk about the 7 reasons to avoid moving to Strongsville. Reason number 1, the weather. Northeast Ohio is gonna get cold. We have snow anywhere from as early as September, and it can snow all the way through April. I know this, my birthday's in April. It consistently snows on my birthday. So we have snow for a very, very long period of time. We have very soupy, wet, rainy springs. And in the summer, boy, does it get hot. So if you're adverse to temperature changes, Strongsville may not be the place for you. With these extreme changes in weather, it wreaks havoc on the roads. There's potholes in the street. So when you're riding in the winter and you hit one of those potholes, you could do some serious damage to your car. Car's got to go to the shop. Not a fun situation. So the weather is definitely an issue for Strongsville. Now, it does get a little bit less snow than some of the other communities surrounding. However, you're going to get multiple inches of snow. In fact, I think the average is about 67 inches per season of snow, which is a little bit less than other communities. However, you're gonna get the snow. So if the snow is not for you, Strongsville, Ohio may not be the place for you. Number 2 reason to avoid moving to Strongsville is the local traffic. So there's a ton of shopping, a ton of business in Strongsville. So for the average commuter in Strongsville, it's a tough ride, right? So there's tons of traffic. You've got the surrounding communities that are also driving through Strongsville. There's only one main artery through Strongsville, and that's gonna get you to the highway. So that's 82 down the center of town, and that'll allow you to jump on the major highway, which is I-71. I-71 is gonna get you north and south. You can get to downtown or south. So downtown being north, or you can go south, and there's only one major artery. So everybody's got to kind of travel in the same direction to get on the highways. Because of all the business, you have a ton of traffic, regardless of where you're driving. Now, can you avoid a little bit of it in the outskirts? Sure, but it's not completely out of the norm to have significant traffic, even in the neighborhoods, because your surrounding communities are trying to travel through in order to get on the highway, because they don't have immediate highway access from those communities. For instance, North Royalton, which is to the east, they don't have real easy access to get on the highway, so a lot of them are traveling into Strongsville to get on the highway to get downtown. So traffic sometimes is kind of a nightmare in Strongsville, especially with the population and with as many people that are actually commuting through the city of Strongsville to get on the highway. Number 3 reason that you may want to avoid moving to Strongsville is because we have all the major business. Everyone comes to shop and eat there. There are restaurants everywhere you look, there's a new place to dine, and tons of people from the surrounding communities travel into Strongsville to go to eat. They travel into Strongsville to go to lunch and dinner. So you have a lot of other communities traveling in and out of Strongsville, which again lends to that traffic and that congestion problem. It also leads to having a lot of other people other than the residents of Strongsville being in the community of Strongsville. It's great for tax purposes because you have people from other communities spending their dollars within Strongsville. However, for the people that live there, you've got a lot of people that don't reside. They don't always know exactly where they're going. They're kind of driving like this, looking for directions, and it's just difficult for somebody who navigates Strongsville on a regular basis, like the residents, to deal with those people constantly coming in and out. The mall can be an absolute nightmare at Christmas time. Definitely Black Friday, you're gonna have huge traffic issues, and that's traffic issues from all directions. So you have all of the surrounding communities rushing to the malls, rushing to the shopping, And they're everywhere. You can find yourself sitting at stoplights for it to change 3 times over before you're able to turn left to where you need to go. Constant traffic, people honking their horns, standstills. There's just a lot of movement in Strongsville. So you're constantly having new people driving in and out. Because you have highway access right there and you have all types of businesses, you also are a little bit more, there can be more crime because they're gonna come in, they're gonna hit the businesses and they're immediately get on the highway and off and running, right? Now, the good thing is that there's only one access, right? So it's not like they can come in and have multiple ways to get in and out. So they really gotta be good at what they do. But nonetheless, you constantly have this new round of people coming in and out of that community that wouldn't necessarily be there if we didn't have all the big business, all the restaurants, all the shopping. So it's just one of those things that becomes a little difficult for the residents to have to deal with. If you are about that hubbub and always like new people and, you know, not to say that you won't go to restaurants and have, you know, your usuals, those are your staples, everybody kind of shows up and you have the staff that's like, Norm, right? And they all sit down. You have that. However, because there's so many restaurants, you could go to the same restaurant every day and run into different people all of the time because you constantly have people coming to Strongsville to dine and to shop. Number 4 reason you might want to avoid moving to Strongsville is there's always construction of some sort going on. If it's not construction of the repair of the roads, because they do really do a good job of trying to maintain those roads, they have construction going on as far as new construction housing. There's still land available in Strongsville, so they're still parceling land out, building new developments, shutting down, not necessarily shutting down roads, but you've got the orange barrels redirecting traffic so they can start developing some of these undeveloped portions of land. Also construction on businesses. So we've had businesses that have been around for years in Strongsville and the buildings and the structures are relatively outdated. So not only are they putting up new buildings and structures and businesses, they're also either remodeling or taking existing buildings down and rebuilding buildings where those old buildings used to be. So there's a constant flow of construction of some sort. Roads, buildings, housing. Always construction going on in Strongsville. It seems like anytime you just figure out the right path to get to your destination, there'll be construction going on for one reason or another, and you've got to divert that path and figure out a new way to go. Soon as that one's really flowing and you've got that stride down, yep, you guessed it, there'll be something else being constructed and you've got to reroute your path. So if you like spontaneity and learning new parts of your city, then by all means move to Strongsville because you're typically not going to take the same route all the time. There'll be some type of construction that diverts your directions. But nonetheless, it's a good thing because they're constantly building Strongsville up, adding new businesses, adding new homes, but it could be really frustrating for its residents because it's always going on. Number 5 reason to avoid Strongsville, and this is gonna sound crazy after I just told you how many businesses, restaurants, shopping, it's the wildlife. So we have a great park system in Strongsville and in the surrounding communities where we have a ton of wildlife, a ton of deer, squirrel. In fact, we even have potentially an overpopulation of deer. It's great when they stay in the park system, but that's not how it works. They start to get overpopulated, they start going off into the neighborhoods and the suburbs and even in the main center of town. And it kind of wreaks havoc for the drivers. It is not unusual to be driving down the road in Strongsville and seeing a deer or 2 or 3, a herd of deer running across the roads. You constantly have to be aware that you could be running into that situation. So we have a high population of people and a high population of wildlife. When those 2 things come together, it can be sometimes catastrophic. So we have tons of wildlife. Because of the increased number of deer, we then have an increased number of coyotes. So yes, we have coyotes in Strongsville. In fact, I was driving through the center of town down Pearl Road, up the hill, up into Brunswick, and looked over to my right, and there was a coyote running up the hill with a rabbit hanging out of its mouth. Not the most fun thing to see when you're on your way to your destination, but nonetheless, there are coyote out there. So people in the neighborhoods need to be really aware of their small pets. If you just let your tiny dog out and you don't have fences, you could be susceptible to coyotes coming in and trying to take the dog away. So always want to be a lookout for that. Also, your small children. It's not like we have coyotes just lying in wait, ready to pounce on somebody. However, there is a threat there, so you always want to make sure that you're on the lookout for that. We have raccoons, we have squirrels. Actually, squirrels are extremely prevalent in Strongsville. I personally owned several homes in Strongsville, and those things, when it gets cold, they will make their way into any attic spaces. In fact, they'll chew and chew and chew till they get into your attic spaces for someplace warm to stay for the winter. And you could just be sitting in your living room one day and all of a sudden hear scratching on your ceiling, and that's a squirrel's got into your attic space and it's taken up residence in your home. So you always want to make sure that you're doing your best to walk the perimeter of your home, make sure you're sealing up those crevices, covering up any holes that may have been burrowed through, to keep the critters outside where they belong and not inside with you. So we definitely have a ton of wildlife, despite the fact that we have so much business, so many restaurants, so many shopping areas in Strongsville. We still have a great amount of wildlife. You're gonna have spiders. Oh my gosh, the spiders. In the fall, all of the spiders come out. So if you're living in a lot of the communities in Strongsville, oftentimes it's absolutely necessary to spray something of some sort to kind of keep the spiders down. They're definitely gonna find their way to your house, and you'll be sitting there, and they're not like the cute little tiny kind of spiders. They're big spiders, and if you're anything like me, I can't stand them. I need to call in resources to come and take care of the spiders for me. So we have wildlife, we have critters in Strongsville. If that's not your jam, Strongsville might not be the place for you. Number 6 reason why you may want to avoid moving to Strongsville is the taxes. So the sales tax in Strongsville is 8%. So the sales tax in the state of Ohio is 5.75%. So when you purchase something, there's gonna be a 5.75% sales tax put on there from the state. In addition to the state sales tax, you are then gonna have the county sales tax. So the county sales tax for Cuyahoga County, where Strongsville is 2.25%. So you have your 5.75% state sales tax, your 2.25% county sales tax, making your total sales tax 8% when you purchase something in the city of Strongsville. Now, the neighboring community, Brunswick, which is just one city to the south, that city's sales tax is 6.75%. So we still have the 5.75% state tax, but they only have a 1% county tax because Brunswick is in Medina County, just one city over, but in a different county, so only a 1% county sales tax, making the sales tax 6.75% in Medina County or Brunswick versus the Strongsville sales tax of 8%. Couple dollars here and there on the things that you're purchasing, but where this really counts is your large purchases. So if you're purchasing a vehicle that's typically based on the residence, so if you reside in Strongsville, that sales tax for that vehicle is going to be at 8%, versus buying that same vehicle in Strongsville but you live in Brunswick, the sales tax is going to be 6.75% on that car. So it could make a pretty significant difference in purchasing over time, even just clothes, purchasing clothes in Strongsville versus purchasing clothes in Brunswick or in Medina County. Those tax dollars really start to add up, causing higher expenses. The other tax you need to look at is property taxes. So the property tax rate in Strongsville is 2.5184%. So you take your home's value and then you multiply it times 2.5184, and that's going to determine what your taxes are on your property in Strongsville. Now, conversely, if you were to purchase a house in the neighboring community, Brunswick, just south of Strongsville, the property tax is 2.059%.
So a little bit less expensive, ever so slightly, in Brunswick, the neighboring community, versus Strongsville. So if you take those numbers together, it's just a little bit, you're paying a little bit more in taxes in Strongsville versus some other communities. Still very affordable compared to other communities in the state of Ohio. But when you consider the areas directly surrounding Strongsville, there are communities that might save you some money in taxes and taxes alone. The number 7 reason why you may want to avoid moving to Strongsville is the cost of living in general. In fact, bestplaces.net did a study and they compared 2 communities. They compared Strongsville versus that neighboring community, Brunswick. Again, 2 different counties directly side by side, Cuyahoga County versus Medina County, 2 cities right there, Strongsville versus Brunswick. And they've shown that the cost of living in Strongsville is approximately 4.7% higher in Strongsville than it is to live in Brunswick. So you're going to see higher costs in the median house cost. The actual cost of the structure that you're living in, the median house cost is approximately $36,000 higher than the median house cost in Brunswick. Now, could that be based on size, things like that? Absolutely, but nonetheless, just a little bit more costly for the housing in Strongsville. In addition to the cost of the housing itself, you're also going to see about a 2.7% increase in the cost of utilities. So your gas, your electric, your water, your sewer. You're going to see a 2.7% higher utility bill than you would if you were residing in the community just south, which is Brunswick. In addition, you're going to see a 2.1% increase in food and groceries. So groceries are just going to cost a little bit more in Strongsville. So if you add all those additional costs together, plus your property taxes, plus your sales tax, it just increases that overall cost of living. A lot of times your insurances will be a little bit more expensive in Cuyahoga County versus Medina County as well, because they kind of take that overall area. You've got the major city of Cleveland, which is in Cuyahoga County, and then Strongsville is a suburb of Cleveland. You just tend to see a little bit higher in home insurance, in car insurance, all of the insurances, you're going to see a little bit higher rates. So just the overall cost of living in Strongsville may be a little bit higher than some other communities that might be a little bit more attractive in terms of costs for you. But overall, Strongsville in Northeast Ohio, still a very, very affordable community.
We receive several calls a day from people just like you moving to the Cleveland area that want to work with our team. If this is you, we'd love to be the real estate team you choose. Our contact information is in the description down below.